everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and it is officially time that we have hope, and in all honesty, a whole lot of cope with what we want to see as unlockables for the Resident Evil Code Veronica remake. Now to kick things off, I'm going to be going through this, giving you guys a little bit of history because of course Code Veronica, I consider one of the most underrated Resident Evil games out there. Feel free to check out the episode where I talk about that, plus another game that sadly involves Claire, but I'm hoping this remake, it gives her the respect she deserves. And shout out to Jill, I really hope you're in the next one because they've been treating you wrong. They've been treating you wrong. But getting into this, Code Veronica, for everyone that has not experienced it, has some of the, I can't even say worst unlockables because that's not really appropriate. It just has like the least unlockables ever. It has nothing. You can get an infinite rocket launcher. You can get a battle mode. That's cool. There's one alternate costume for Claire, only in the battle mode, by the way. And you can also get, I believe, the infinite linear launcher, which is like the final laser weapon that you use on the final boss of the game. Also, that's only in battle mode. If that does exist, then that's also only in battle mode. Also, you can change the game from third person to first person as an unlockable, also only in the battle mode. That one actually pissed me off as a kid because I didn't know about any of the other potential unlockables or lack thereof, but I knew that I got the ability to go first person or third person in a Resident Evil game. And it was like, yeah, but only in this battle mode. And that really pissed me off. I was like, but this is, it's literally in the game. That really made me mad back in the day. However, I don't think that'll be a concern anymore unless they are really gonna F up and they are gonna hear from everybody. If they do not put this in, because they did it to themselves, RE9 has third person and first person. Code Veronica needs to have that. That's not an unlockable. That is a permanent Resident Evil feature now, that every game is third person and first person. They do not have a choice. And if they back out of that, the only other option is third person and fixed camera angles. You gotta have two. You gotta have two. So at this point, we're getting first person and we're getting third person. And if we don't, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, how the F do you do that? But that's not what we're talking about. We're here to cope. And like I said, we're here to cope because I wrote a little list and I know, in all honesty, there's some things that I'm gonna reference where you're gonna be like, of course that's in the game. And then there's a bunch of stuff where it's like, that they're not gonna do it. They aren't gonna care enough. I will say right off the top, once again, I hope that most of this is not gonna be in the deluxe edition. I buy the deluxe edition every time. Resident Evil is literally my favorite franchise. I'm always gonna do that. I'm always gonna have, the old school soundtracks and everything. And I'm fine with that. I just want it for everyone else. Like I want there to be more unlockables in general. There should be more effort put into the unlockables. I would never mind it if, like RE9, most of the costumes are from the deluxe edition. You know what you get in RE9? And this for everyone, if you haven't really thought about it, if you might have the deluxe edition. In RE9, you get one costume per character. Grace gets an FBI costume, somehow not an Alyssa suit, but once again, different conversation. And Leon gets the RE2 costume from the RE2 remake. That's it. You could kind of say Grace is the only character in the effing history of Resident Evil to have the quote unquote like damage or no damage or jacket on, jacket off option feel like an alternate costume because she loses that junk so early. So sure, if you want to give it some leeway, you can say she kind of gets two unlockable costumes because she really does not have that jacket at all. Leon barely has it, but it's at least two different playable sections. One section for her, gone forever, and she's in an effing plain white t-shirt and some bandages. So the one costume apiece, all the other costumes are DLC, including the RE4 costume. That's ridiculous. It literally should have just been like, hey, RE2, RE4, RE9. Should have had RE6, but they haven't done the remake yet, so we'll let it slide because we know what that would lead to in the community if they put an RE6 thing in there. But that does kind of lead me to some of the costumes I'm hoping for Claire Redfield in Resident Evil Code Veronica, the remake. First off, I want to get a costume. This is pure hope and cope. Like, this is not going to happen because they do not care. They didn't care to do it when they had the opportunity. They're definitely not going to care now. But by the gods among us, if they put in the RE2 alternate costume, the denim outfit that had like the flames on it, I would love to see that. I love that costume in RE2. It's actually my favorite costume in RE2. It might, maybe the original Claire outfit would probably be my number one, but I always love that costume. I want to see that brought back. They didn't do it in the RE2 remake, despite that having a lot of cool costumes. They didn't do it there. I would love to see it now. And it would still be appropriate to do it. It's like, all right, it's still Claire. It's, it's fine. Just as long as we get it, I'll be happy with that. So I would love to see that because that is her original alternate costume. That is the only way I can really think to put it. But that is technically the second costume Claire ever had, if you bothered to unlock it. That is the second costume that Claire ever had in the Resident Evil franchise. I would like to see that get some representation, and I would love to see it in general because I love that effing costume. So I want to see that come back. Another thing that I want to see come back, and I mention this all the effing time. I don't know why they stopped after RE2, But the 98 thing obviously would be different because this, Code Veronica was on Dreamcast and PS2. But every single Resident Evil game should have the PS1 blocky components. Every single one should have a PS1 style model where the characters are just squares. Like every single Resident Evil game should have that. It doesn't matter if they were actually in an old game or not. RE6 is always the example I bring up. Every single character had a PS1 style costume. It didn't matter if they had an OG costume or not. Leon had it, and of course it was his RPD. Sherry had it, and it was like her schoolgirl uniform. Chris had it, it was his RE1 costume. Every single character that was brand new, it was just, hey, here's this character's introductory costume from RE6, but now it's a blocky version. And that was fine. They all look like PS1 style characters. Every Resident Evil should have that. Like, honestly, I think we should be way angry at Capcom for never doing that again, because it's ridiculous. Like, it makes no sense, especially for like RE3 remake. Obviously that was its own thing, but it was like, nobody thought to be like, hey, we literally just did it a year ago for RE2, even if it was a separate team. Like, nobody was like, we should have this in here. RE4, same thing. Once again, not on, PS1, but every single one should have that style, and like, nobody would complain. Every single one should have that. So PS1 version of her character, which I would assume would just end up being the original RE2 costume, which is the closest you actually get to it in the RE2 remake, because the original quote-unquote version they give you is not her actual original one. But I'm not going to ask for that, because I already know they're going to give us the RE2 remake, because at this point that's the only costume Claire even has. Like, they're not going to do the DLC costumes again, I would imagine. So I don't think we should expect like the Noir costume or the military costume or the Elza Walker costume to come back. I don't think they're going to do doubles. Like, the RE2 costume for Leon is like the only costume that's kind of gotten a bunch of doubles, where it's like, hey, the RE4 remake came out, and then you got RE2, which was, akin to the original 4, and RE9 comes out and it's like, well, he's going back to the RPD, so we're gonna do that. Still should have had the RE4 costume as an unlockable and not DLC, because that's ridiculous. But I understand why it was the RE2 costume again and not the last, main costume we got, because it was tying in, his time in, obviously, Raccoon City. But RE2 alternate costume for Claire, I want in there, and a PS1 blocky version for Claire, for all characters. That's across the board. Everybody should have that. Claire should have it, and it ends up being like her PS1 costume. Chris will have it. It can be his PS1 costume. If they did it for Wesker, it could actually be his PS1 costume if they wanted to do that. For Steve, it would just be a blocky version. I would say, considering it's a remake, I say if you're doing the PS1 style, all the PS1 blocky versions should be like the original costume. So whatever they're gonna do, which this might date it depending on when this happens, but I might as well say it, it is June 1st. So I don't technically know if it's happening at the State of Play, but I'm saving this one. So, as soon as it drops, that's when this drops. So I'm just letting you guys know when it's happening. So I haven't seen any trailer just yet, so I don't know what anybody's looking like. But everyone should get a PS1 style version, and it should just be whatever their original Code Veronica costume was, and then boom, PS1 style. Once again, that's not happening. I know it. I know that that's copium, but at the very least, we should get it for our main playable characters, because technically you play as Steve for like half a minute, but at the very least, Claire should have her PS1 style thing brought back. And once again, and I hate saying this because they do it all the time, but all this stuff is in the RE engine. There's no excuse. Really, there's no excuse. They just choose not to do it, but it's already in there. That should come back. Like, realistically speaking, all of her costumes should come in. And it's like, hey, even if they don't do the DLC costumes, they should be in there. And of course, get it on PC. You'll have them in there, no muss, no fuss. You'll have a million costumes. You do it on PC, you'll be fine. But that's what should be in the game. We're gonna get her RE2 remake costume with the jacket, so I know that's in there. I'm praying, like I said, I haven't seen the trailer, but I am praying that I see this girl in the vest, because I'm gonna be pissed if they do another jacket, and I feel like they are. And that means that we're gonna have, like, I'm doing the air quotes, original Code Veronica vest again. They screwed up the RE2 costume. They screwed up both of Jill's original costumes. They didn't even give Carlos an alternate. They just changed his hair. I was like, he literally has a different costume. They didn't even make the effing jacket for him. They were just like, here's his here's RE1 or original RE3 Carlos, and it was like, all you did was make him look weird. You didn't even, like, he has a totally different jacket. Like, they didn't even change the actual costume. It's just a hairstyle. So odds are they're gonna remake it and they're gonna piss me off, and it's not gonna be a vest, it'll be another jacket. And that means that we'll probably have her vest, original, as an unlockable, but we're definitely getting the RE2 remake costume, because that's all they really got right now. And I doubt they're gonna make the DLC costumes, unlockables again, which they should. They should, like, every single game should just have all the old costumes. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be like the craziest thing in the world if like RE4 came out and it was all the ones from RE2? RE9 comes out, you can get the pinstripe suit. You get, like, all of that stuff. Anything Leon has had should be in the next game. But that's just me being like, hey, I buy your stuff and support you, this would actually be kind of awesome. But moving on, here's one that, once again, they could do it, and the only reason there's precedence for this is because literally they just did it in RE9. I would love it if Claire got her Resident Evil Degeneration outfit, which is like the first CG movie. It's basically like a full white outfit. It's like a white jacket, and then she has like the red underneath. I would love to see that, and it would be a cool reference to her first movie appearance. And the reason I say there's precedence is because the suit that Leon has, which I believe they call it his noir suit, but him just being in the suit, everyone calls it like John Wick and everything. But that's actually referencing him in Infinite Darkness. Like, that's what that is. So I would love to see them do that. I highly doubt it, but that would be amazing if they're like, hey, we just kind of did a movie reference. Technically, the suit is a different color because they made the suit black, and it was more like a navy blue type of deal in the movie. But that would be great. I would love to see it. It would be fantastic. And it's also a very rare costume for her because it's not mostly red. It's generally mostly white, and then the red is underneath. So I would love to see that. I just don't think that's really gonna happen. That's the sad thing about all this. I'm like, wouldn't this be great? Wouldn't this be cool? Reference this thing. The Elza Walker is the thing, like, when that came out, that was the thing that made me like super hyped for every remake release ever since, where I'm like, they're gonna reference this and that, and then it's just been kind of garbage, if we're being totally honest. Like, we'll get a bunch of alternate costumes, but it's like, I would love some of these references. I would love, obviously RE3 is RE3, but I would love like to see some of these things come back. RE2 alternate costume should come back. So I hope we get to see that. I hope we get a RE, a Degeneration outfit. I would love to see, once again from RE2, the end, like the epilogue scene where it's Claire and Sherry. Claire is in like a black outfit, a black biker outfit. I would love to see that made into reality. I'm sure you can see it once again. If you check mods, you can probably find all this stuff already in like the RE2 version. But I would love to see that redone. And that's a costume that was like never put in anything. It was just like that epilogue scene, and she's got like a black outfit on instead of her red outfit. So a black jacket, black shorts, and then I think the flames were just on her motorcycle helmet. So I don't remember if the outfit had flames on it again, but it was just like a black biker outfit. I would love to see that as well. And then OG RE2 would be great. I don't really see it happening, but I would love to at least see the Dark Side Chronicles version, because technically, even when they did like the quote unquote original for the RE2 remake, it was with the red shorts, if I'm not mistaken. It was still, the costume was still way off, but I do believe they did like the actual red shorts instead of the blue jean shorts, or maybe it was the blue jean shorts again. I honestly can't recall because it annoyed me so much. It's been forever since I played, but I would love to see the actual like original version, black t-shirt, black pants, like the long gloves and all that stuff. I would love to see them do that. But like I said, at the very least, I would love to see like a Dark Side Chronicles version. That would be amazing. Also, this, I don't have anything specific. I just wrote it on here. Crossover costume. Resident Evil is consistently left out of the conversation when it comes to crossovers. Unless someone gets content from Resident Evil, they're out of the conversation. Monster Hunter, they got Resident Evil stuff. They got Akuma in there. Street Fighter, they got Resident Evil costumes. Back when Street Fighter 5 was out, they got Resident Evil costumes. They have Akuma. Just throw Akuma in the Resident Evil, the circle is complete. Like Devil May Cry doesn't ever get anything either. It's the ones that I love the most, where I'm like, it would be great to see these characters running around in like giant open world sections and everything. I don't get that for Devil May Cry. I don't get it for Resident Evil. I just want a crossover costume. If this was an RE0 thing, I would instantly be like, obviously Sakura should be in, a reference for Rebecca. That would be the character. If you did like older Sakura from like Street Fighter 5, that would kind of fit Claire, I would say. But who's gonna be like, oh my God, Sakura from Street Fighter 5? That's the costume I was waiting for. It's like, no, nobody's, like she's my favorite, but I want the classic character costume, So I don't know what character you would pick. But any effing character, like just do it. I wouldn't even care if it was Sakura. It would just fit more for Rebecca, but like that would be the only thing I'd be like, they did it on Claire, but it's like, it would be perfect for Rebecca. So, when RE0 comes out, I'll probably bring that back up. Also, shout out to Billy. He's the only, Resident Evil 0 is actually the only one that ever had like crossover costumes, and they suck, and that's unfortunate. Billy has all of them. He has one for Cody from his like OG costume, which is literally just a prison outfit with the stripes on it. That one's perfect. They even share like the handcuffs hanging off of one hand. Cody and Billy literally have that in common. So it's like, it's the perfect costume. Then he has a Captain Commando costume, which is horrible because the Captain Commando costume is amazing, and they changed it. It's like the originals, in the remake costumes. So they did that, and then there was some other Capcom game that he references, the one where he has like the crazy visor on his head. That's another Capcom game. And all those costumes, I'm like, these suck. So if they ever do it again and they finally bring in crossovers, I'd love to see it in Code Veronica. Don't see it happening, but they really need to do like some crossover content for like just costumes, and that's it. That's all you got to do. I'm not expecting Akuma, but a costume is all it takes. That's really, I saw like the perfect mod in RE4 where somebody put Dante over Wesker in Mercenaries, and it just looked like he was doing Royal Guard the whole time. And I was like, this is the most beautiful costume swap I've ever seen. We just need some good costume swaps. Like, just do a nice celebration across the franchise. Do an effing Mega Man thing, for God's sakes, do something. Just give me a crossover. Roll from Mega Man is already red. There you go. Give Claire a roll costume from Mega Man, and I'm happy. You could have her dressed up like Rush, because the dog is red too. I don't care. Just, I want a crossover, please. That's all I'm asking for. But moving on to Chris, more hopium, more copium. I would love to see the ninja costume from Deadly Silence come back. I don't think that'll happen, but I would love to see that costume because I'm a sucker for ninjas. I want to see that costume. Shout out to the samurai costume that he had in RE6, but I'm gonna say this, I don't want any RE5 Chris at all. I don't want like a slightly redone version. That, once again, that's another thing that's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of change him up a little bit, but I don't want any of his RE5 onward costumes. I want everything, like concepts, all that stuff. That's where we're headed when it comes to Chris. So the ninja costume from Deadly Silence, I would love to see that. I would love to see, I imagine we're gonna see at the very least his PS1 costume. Like that should be an easy guarantee. I hope they don't change it and mess it up. I would love to see that. I would also prefer it to be more vibrant green. That's one thing I've mentioned a few times here and there. I like his original bright green version. I don't even like the remake version nearly as much. Also, his Code Veronica costume is actually my favorite costume that Chris has ever had. That's actually my favorite Chris uniform. So I'm hoping that still looks great and they don't change it up too much, but I'm very curious how he's gonna turn out. I feel like he might get, either they're gonna do the RE5 thing once again, much like the RE6 jacket for Leon. I don't think they're gonna do 5 just to be like, we're 100%, because the community will talk. If they throw that costume in there, it's gonna be a frenzy. So they kind of can't do it unless it really is gonna be the next one. So I don't think they'll even touch the RE5 costume anyway. But then he can't, who the F is gonna even remember? If they did the RE7 costume, they could say it's something brand new and everybody would be like, oh yeah, military. Like, we'd forget, let's be honest. But they can't do his RE5 costume unless they pull an RE1 remake where the PS4 version added the RE5 costumes and it literally changes Chris's face. Like, it makes him the RE5 model. So I doubt they're gonna do that. I think we're gonna get a new version of Chris. So all his costumes should be new. And we should get an RE1 costume. They did it for Jill, so I don't think it's crazy. That's the only thing, because like everyone's already speculating 5. I don't think it would be crazy if they did, at the very least, his original RE1 costume, which I hope is actually his original costume, and preferably the bright green. So I'd love to see the ninja costume, but the PS1 version of his character should be guaranteed. Like OG Chris should be in there. And once again, the blocky version of the PS1 model would also be great. I would love to see that. Another thing I'd love to see, another old costume, but we haven't had it in the RE engine. And also, I'm pretty sure this was only on DS. I think this was in the original as well as Deadly Silence. But his brown jacket costume, so the brown jacket that you always see in the RPD if you played 9 or if you played 2, or if you played 3 even, that brown jacket that's hanging up where it has the same image, made in heaven and everything. I would love it if they gave us a redone version of that. I think that would look great in the RE engine. I think that's probably like the number one. Like, as much as I would love to see his original costume, something about it is just like, I feel like his brown jacket would be like the best costume they could make. I don't know why, but in my head, I'm just like, I feel like it's so simplistic. It's just a nice brown leather jacket. As long as they put the actual symbol on it, that was another thing with Claire. Even when they gave her the jacket in the remake, they destroyed the symbol. It's like etched onto the jacket with no colors. So I would hope that if we got the brown jacket, it would just be exactly what we've seen in the 2 remake, 3 remake, and then in 9 as well. So I would love to see him in his brown jacket costume brought back. That would be fantastic. The other 2 costumes I have here are actually concepts that we never got. The first one is the Terminator 2 Chris. This was for the RE1 remake. It was a sleeveless leather jacket that looks just like Arnold's jacket from Terminator 2, and they gave Chris the glasses as well. I would love to see that. If they did like T2 Chris, especially because he does wear a vest in this one. Like he wears a short sleeve shirt underneath, but it would be super easy to just make it like a full on vest and just do like a leather jacket vest. It would be easy to just slap that on this character model. I would love to see that. That would be fantastic. And right underneath, Karate Chris. They had the karate, him in the full gi in the RE1 remake concept. I would love to actually see that come back as well. And then the final one for Chris, just like Claire, I want a crossover. It's worth mentioning specifically for each of them. I want a crossover character. One for Claire. I would love multiples, but one for Claire, one for Chris. Just give me a good crossover costume from some other franchise. I don't care if they both got Mega Man. That would actually be kind of cool if they made him. I would say he'd be Mega Man, but obviously, it's not blue. But you can make him Mega Man and just make Claire roll, and it's like, well, at least it fits her. And then it's still two crossover characters. I'm totally fine with that. But whatever they decide, if they do crossovers, I'll be happy with that. So I would love to see that. Now we move on to the rest of the characters in the game. Wesker and Steve specifically. I want both of them to have their OG costumes. I want them both to have, when I say OG, I should specify the original Code Veronica look. I want Wesker to have his, because that's also one of my favorite looks for Wesker. So they're going to remake that or whatever. I really don't want them to have the jacket yet. Like, leave that for 5, because it's not really my favorite thing if I'm being totally blunt. But I would love to see them both get their OG costumes, much like Luis in RE4, where it was like, hey, you only play as him in Mercenaries, and you can't switch costumes in Mercenaries, unless I haven't seen that yet and it's been there the whole time. You can't even switch costumes in Mercenary mode, but you can still get his original costume. For Wesker, you still get his original RE4 costume. So that right there is like, well, they clearly, when they want to, when the right team is on the job, they'll put all the costumes in, even if you can't even utilize them. You can't even switch costumes to Wesker's original 4 costume, but it's in there in the 3 cutscenes he's in, including Separate Ways. So they put the effort in there to be like, hey, here's his OG 4 costume, if you want it, I guess. Here's Luis's costume, if you want it, I guess, only in this mode where you see it and don't even play as him. Here you go, you can have it, I guess. I would love to see that. Do it again. Give us the OG RE4 costume. It's already been in the RE engine. You might as well throw it in here. Give us his remake 4 costume for Wesker, obviously. Throw that junk right in there. Give him his original Code Veronica look. Throw that junk right in there. Give him his PS1 costume in the RE engine. Throw that in there. And I don't think they'll do this because they only ever do it for playable characters. So I wouldn't expect him to also get like a PS1 blocky version, and the same with Steve and stuff like that. Even though technically Steve would be playable for a quick second, I don't think they would do that for them. I would just love to see it. But at the very least, if they're gonna do what they did for RE4, and even though he's just in cutscenes, depending on if we get mercs or not, you can just have that thrown in there. OG RE4, remake RE4, his PS1 original Resident Evil costume in the RE engine as well. That would be great. And then if we do get Mercenaries, which even the original game, you get to play as Wesker in that battle mode. But if they did it, they could throw in those costumes. And for once, if they made it just an option, just allow you to switch costumes, where it's like, hey, here's the loadout, and now you can just change costumes, that would be great. I would love to see that. So both RE4 costumes for Wesker, PS1 blocky style would be great. I don't see it happening, but that would be awesome. At the very least, his original costume, and then his OG Code Veronica look. Same for Steve. I don't know about Alfred and Alexia. I'm sure they'll have remake versions of their costumes. It would be cool. Once again, just going off of the Luis thing, where it's like he got an alternate costume and so did Wesker, and neither of them were playable in those story campaigns. So if you want to throw it in there, I'm fine with it. I'd be okay if they didn't get any extra costumes. I would just love to see it, but I'm not really even crazy about that, because I'm like, in all honesty, Alfred's costume I thought was great. He has the full commander uniform with the pins and everything and the bright red. He looks great. And then Alexia has the crazy purple suit, which admittedly she only has for a couple minutes till she burns it away. So it's like, I'm fine with them just having their one costume. I think they'll be good, and I would love to see it. Once again, PS1 blocky style. That's just for everybody. I would just love to see that. So go ahead and throw it in there. Now we get to the final little chunk of this, and this is kind of the across the board simple things. Like I said, I mentioned mercs. I want Mercenaries mode, especially because of this game. It's super easy. RE9 was like, well, if they did Mercenaries, would they finally make Xeno playable? Because he's literally not in any gameplay. He's only in cutscenes. In Resident Evil Code Veronica, you have Claire, Chris, Steve. Technically, Wesker is only in cutscenes, which I'm sure they'll change in the remake anyway. but Wesker's only in cutscenes in the original, and then you actually fight Veronica. So at the very least, even if you took out Wesker, 4 of those characters are in gameplay, and 3 of those characters are actually playable at some point. So all of them should be in Mercenaries. I would love a Mercenaries. Give me Claire, Chris. Dang, I just thought about Rodrigo. He might end up getting an update like Marvin did, where he has at least a little bit more to do. That'll be interesting to see. Dang, that'll be interesting. I'm gonna just, yeah, if you haven't played, I'm gonna just leave that at that, but that'll be interesting to see. Just popped into my head. Shout out to Rodrigo, give him his old costume too, why not? But make him playable in Mercenaries, that'll be the craziest thing. That's like throwing in Ark Thompson. Throw in Ark Thompson. I would die. If they were like, hey, Ark Thompson, that's crazy. But Mercenaries mode is what I would hope for as an unlockable. They've kind of gotten away from battle mode, aside from, you know, Leon Must Die Forever mode, which is like very akin to the battle mode of Code Veronica, where it's like, you know, nobody will put in like new costumes in a battle mode, like a cool little hat with sirens on it, and you know, like bring back the wolf tail and stuff. Like no one would do that and then lock it to the battle mode. They would never still do that today, because that would just be dumb. Like they wouldn't do that to us right now, exactly how they're actually doing it, because that's crazy, right? That's effing insane. But hopefully they learned their lesson with everything we've said about this mode, and they change some things up. So anything that we do unlock, if it's not Mercenaries, if it's something else, hopefully whatever's unlockable there transfers to the game. Just treat it like Mercenaries in RE4. Let us have some extra things that are unlocked from that. Let us play around in that, unlock extra costumes and characters within that mode and new, you know, loadouts and stuff. I would love Mercenaries, personally speaking. I don't know, you know, obviously it's a remake. The maps will be redesigned, but I will say if there was ever a game that would kind of be a little tough for Mercenaries mode, it would be Code Veronica, because it's still going to be somewhat based on the older style of the games. Even if it's remade, I'm sure they'll swap some things around. But just like with RE2, where it's like, I couldn't really see that as a Mercenaries mode if they just slapped that into the RE2 remake. It's like, it would be kind of weird. You'd have to make some brand new stuff, which I would not hate at all, of course. But the map for Code Veronica, they could do it, but they would kind of have to like combine some areas together, I feel, for it to really make a lot of sense Mercenaries wise, as far as like an actual arena. Because of the way the game is kind of laid out, I don't think it will work too well. And we'll see what happens with the Antarctica portion. That was probably like the only area I could instantly see like, yeah, there's some open spots there where I could definitely, you know, see it getting pulled off. But you don't have like the village or these giant sprawling areas like you would for RE5 and 6 and, you know, 4, 5, and 6. So it'll be interesting to see, but I would love Mercenaries. I feel like they could do it, and it could end up being something really special. So I would love for it to be Mercenaries, because that's just my favorite extra mode anyway. So my vote is Mercenaries mode for sure. But underneath that is all the stuff that we currently get, and once again, Code Veronica got nothing. Just about anything, whatever they do, they could do exactly what they did for RE9, and it's like, here's one costume per character. If it's used in the main campaign, it's already more than the original game gave us. But here's the other basic ones. Infinite ammo, of course we need that. Something that you don't get, which is insane, the gold Lugers. Infinite ammo, you know, gold Lugers, make them unlockable weapons that you can actually use throughout the campaign. You can only play with them in battle mode with Steve, of course, because he uses them in the campaign for a hot minute. So, you know, we need the gold Lugers. We need the actual linear launcher as an actual unlockable weapon. I just wrote this down off of memory. I'm pretty sure they're called MP100s. Like that's what the two, like the dual wielding guns that Claire gets. Those are like the, you know, the poster weapons that Claire has for the game. We need those with infinite ammo. Like I said, the Lugers, of course, infinite rocket launcher I think is just about guaranteed, so we don't have to worry about that. But I want the linear launcher. I want the gold Lugers as an unlockable weapon that anybody can use. I want the MP100s, and I want an infinite rocket launcher. I also want some brand new stuff. Something that I love in 9 is that they had like 5 weapons that weren't even in the actual campaign. That was crazy. I would love to see that happen again. So give us some new weapons, just throw some new stuff in there. Even if they threw in like the weapons from 9 was like, here's a clatter carbine or whatever. That would actually be kind of cool, because that type of weapon doesn't even exist. You have like, you know, you get like submachine guns at some point, but different, you know, that's still a different aspect. So I would love to see that happen. And I'm actually kind of excited to see, I feel like they're gonna make new weapons for the game anyway. So those will probably have, you know, those will just go in with like infinite ammo anyway. And we'll have to see if we get, you know, counters, like Chris will have them. What are they gonna do for Claire? Are they gonna keep it like RE2 remake? Or are they gonna change it and then she gets some stuff kind of, you know, she was in Mercenaries mode. Or at the very least in, you know, the 3D Mercenaries game. So she could have some stuff. They could just bring some stuff over, you know, from like Revelations 2 raid mode. Like, she has context, you know, hits like everybody does at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. But I would love some new weapons, and I would love some, you know, just make up some special weapons. Like the linear launcher would be like the special one, and the gold Lugers are the ones already in the game. But I would love it. That's the one thing RE9 did as unlockables that I absolutely loved. It was like, here's just like 5 brand new weapons that aren't even in the campaign. It's just brand new stuff. I hate that they only go to Leon for the most part, including like 3F and pistols, where it's like, you couldn't, those just can't fit in Grace's hand, I guess. So that pissed me off. But a bunch of brand new weapons that aren't even in the campaign, or at the very least, you get like Xeno's gun, which you can't even use, or, you know, Grace getting Freya's needle, which you only use during like the motorcycle segment for Leon. Stuff like that, I would love to see. So I don't have anything specific. You know, if they wanted to just, for no apparent reason, it wouldn't even make sense, but if they wanted to, you know, be just, you know, give us a bit of justice and retribution, PRL 412 laser cannon. It doesn't make sense because there are no plagas to remove in Code Veronica, but if they wanted to throw in the PRL 412 laser cannon as a remake, I'd be happy, because they didn't give it to us in 4, and I was really, you know, I was like, okay, it'll be there with separate ways, and it was not. It is just in the past. So give us one of those, or just make up some brand new stuff, and I'm happy. But that's where I'm at. So that is my hope, and that is my copium as it pertains to Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake and everything that I want from that game. I hope we get more than 1 effing costume per character. It doesn't matter if I'm buying the deluxe edition or not. They need multiple costumes that people can just unlock. Not DLC, not a pre-order, just let people unlock multiple things. Honestly, the background music should just be an unlockable. You beat the game, anyone that would care is gonna play the game twice anyway. Let's be honest. Like, if you don't care about that, you're probably not one of the people looking to play the game 2 times anyway. But for me, I always listen to the classic music, and then I'll listen to whatever's in the game, and then I'll do the classic music right after. So I wouldn't hate it if that was finally just an unlockable for everybody. I think everyone deserves to have that, because it's literally just putting the old stuff in the game. Don't make that unlockable or purchasable. Just like costumes, I'm like, okay, do costumes. But like OG sound effects, just make that a cool unlockable. It's the most minute thing that would be like, oh, that's kind of cute. Make that an unlockable. Cut in half how many costumes we get in the deluxe edition, and I'm happy with it. Like I said, this is someone who spends the money. I want people to be able to just unlock stuff without having to pay for it. Especially, say you buy the game twice. You're probably only gonna buy the deluxe edition 1 time, depending on how close together you buy it, or, you know, whatever your circumstances are. But I can tell you, I got the RE3 remake when they were doing that super sale. I bought it for like $5, but it was the regular edition. And I was like, oh, I forgot that her like RE3 costume wasn't unlockable. That was a part of like the DLC of the deluxe edition. I have to buy it again. And I was like, oh, I can't even use mods on the costume because I need to buy the costume. That's insane. It's 2 costumes. So I'm hoping there's more than 1 costume in Code Veronica that is just unlocked for everybody, and then they can just do like 2 extra costumes for each character. Even if it was 1 costume, it's still 2 costumes total, 1 extra costume per character for the DLC. And it's gonna be what it is for 9. It's, like, I'm saying all this stuff that could be hopeful. It's gonna be exactly what it's been. Like 4 or 5 of the costumes are just gonna be straight up DLC that you can buy for 10 extra bucks, and the music will be attached. But hopefully something good can happen and we can get something. Some of these alternate costumes, not all brand new stuff. I love to see, like I said, the concepts for Chris. It's mostly concepts for Chris. Either like OG stuff he's already had, or the concepts would be great. Brown jacket was, I don't know why, but I think that's like my #1, even over the RE1 style costume. Brown jacket for him. For Claire, it's definitely the RE2 alternate. I just really love that effing jacket. I wanted to see that so bad in the 2 remake. But those are my thoughts. That's what I want to see. And if we got a crossover costume, I would effing die. I don't see it happening, but I would love a crossover costume for each of our main playable characters in this game. And I'm looking forward to it either way. It's Code Veronica. I can't wait to see what they do with it. But, you know, modern Resident Evil has an unlockables problem, and these are just my hopes for what we get for this, you know, upcoming game. So I, of course, would love to know yours. What do you guys want to see? What don't you want to see? I would love to hear that. Like, what do you think would just be a waste if they threw it in there? But I want to know what you guys want to see for the characters, whether it's costumes, extra modes. I think most people are going to say mercenaries, but, you know, I mean, heck, I'll say raid mode. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would be like, I'd love to see raid mode come back. I don't know what they're doing. Like, honestly, I've said it forever. Just make the online mode of Resident Evil, mercenaries plus raid mode together. Every new game, we get like 2 or 3 new levels, add like 10 or so new missions. It's super easy. It's right there. It is right there. That's where you can sell, I mean, heck, they already sold costumes. They did Resistance. They've already done it. And it's like, if you did that for a mercenaries / raid mode, you would get all the money in the world because we would buy the costumes. Especially if you could buy the costumes in the online mode and they made them new costumes for the main campaign. Something else they could have done with the RE3 remake, which I thought was insane. I'm like, you added like 100 costumes for Resistance, and you, at no point did they think to just transfer that stuff over to the main campaign as like unlockable DLC as well. Like super crazy. Like that's like a base level concept to me. But that's where we are so far. Those are my thoughts. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm coping for all day, all night. But we'll see what we get once, you know, the pre-orders start popping up. We'll see what they give us. But like I said, I want to know what you guys want to see as far as unlockables, whether it's, you know, music, sound effects, weapons, modes, costumes, even characters, whatever it is. I want to know what you guys want to see. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.